Hello and welcome to a tutorial on how to set up a Project Zomboid server. The date of recording is the 21st of December 2005, and this is going to be an intro on how to set up a Project Zomboid dedicated server on a Linux machine. The version of Project Zomboid we will be using is the 42.13 unstable beta. I will be using a machine with an installation of Ubuntu 24.04. In my case, I'm hosting it using Linode, but however you're hosting it is up to you, and the process should be roughly the same regardless. The starting off point for this tutorial is to be logged in as root or a user in the sudoers group on the server or the machine you're going to be installing it on. That is, you want to be on a user who has the privileges to execute commands with sudo. We will be following the guide on the wiki, and I will be sort of going through it step by step with you so that you can also reference it and follow it and sort of understand what's going on in the guide, in case you haven't done this sort of thing before. But we will also be doing some tweaks. There are some cases where the guide does not entirely explain all the steps that you actually need to take, and in some cases we will actually need to deviate from the guide. And so I will tell you when to do that. I will also leave a written out step-by-step in the description or link to it in some way based on what I did in my case to get it to work. So if you're following along, you can start by just opening the wiki page that you can see in the browser here. So that would be pzwiki.net/wiki/dedicated server, so dedicated_server. And that is the dedicated server page on the wiki. Broadly, we can divide the procedure for setting a server up in 3 steps. We're going to need to download the server files. We might need to forward ports in case we are using a firewall where that is necessary. And then we need to do some light configuration and then actually run the server. And as a bonus, at the end, I will also show you where to find the files to change in-game settings. So actual settings for, rules, game rules, and that sort of thing in the game, and some of the variables you can change and edit. So let's begin with the first step. So that would be downloading the server files. We can go ahead and just scroll down to the Linux subsection right here. And what we want to do first of all is to run this command right here, or actually it's 3 commands. There's we're adding the multiverse repository. We are adding 32-bit architecture to the server, and we are running an update to just get all the new applications, all the new software that we can install with this repository we added. If you don't understand the details of this command, I don't think it really matters in this case, but just go ahead and run this. And you will be asked to click enter to confirm. It will perform a bunch of operations here in the terminal. And then once it's finished, it should be in just a moment. There we go. You can go ahead and run this command. And this will install steamcmd on the machine. You will need to go ahead and accept the license agreement. So you will need to select OK over here. You can, I think usually you will, in my case at least, with the terminal emulator that I'm using, I'm clicking the right key and then to sort of select the OK, and then I click enter, and then you choose I agree. and it will go ahead and install that for you. So what steamcmd essentially is a terminal-based version of Steam. It lets you download and run Steam applications such as the Project Zomboid dedicated server without a GUI, so without a graphical user interface. So for example, on a headless server such as the one I'm using in this case. In case this installation does not immediately work, you might need to follow these steps. So basically you will need to add the or enable the non-free repository. So this might be the case on some Linux installations. In this case, I did not need to do that, and I have not tested these steps directly because I have not needed to do so. But this might be an issue on, for example, Debian 13 due to the change in how adding the non-free repository works. So I can't guarantee that this will work in all Debian-based Linux installations, but in case in case this step does not work for you, just copy-paste these commands in, and hopefully that will just resolve it for you. So once you have steamcmd installed, you should add a user specifically to run the server, the Project Zomboid server, for you, since it's good practice to keep such operations separate from a normal user account, and you just generally you shouldn't be doing a bunch of stuff on the root user unless you actually have to. So we're going to go ahead and just run this command right here. So sudo adduser pzuser. We'll need to set a password, so go ahead and do that. And then you will be prompted to enter some personal information. This you don't actually have to do. It has no bearing on what we're doing in here in this case. So you need to type Y, press enter to confirm. Once we have added the pzuser, we are going to make a directory to which we will install the server. For the next command, we are setting this directory where the server will be installed to be owned by the pzuser. This is necessary to avoid lacking permissions when we actually run the server. Then we want to log into the pzuser account, and we are now logged in as the pzuser, as you can see over here. Now the next part here can cause some issues. For me, I have not been able to run these commands from a txt file as actually described here. If it works exactly as written here, if these instructions work exactly for you, then that's great. But I'm going to show you how to do what exactly is in this script without running it from a text file in a way that has worked for me when I've set this up just recently. So we're going to go ahead and first run this export path command. And then we're going to just run steamcmd by itself. This will prompt steamcmd to do some setup. And then it should drop us into a command line prompt for the steamcmd application. So that is what we are in right now. Once we're in here, we want to go ahead and run the first part of the script right here. So the force install directory to apt-pzserver, which is the destination path for our server. It will give no output, which is good. We will log in as anonymous. It will authenticate us with the Steam servers. And then we're going to go ahead and run this command right here. This is actually going to install the Project Zomboid dedicated server for us specifically. This will take some time, so I will get back to you once it has finished. All right, as you can see, the Project Zomboid dedicated server is now installed, and so we can actually quit out of steamcmd, like so. And just to kind of verify that it has installed, we are going to go into the directory we just made. So you change directory into apt-pzserver, and then we can run ls to list the contents of the directory we are in. And as you can see, there's a bunch of server files right here. So that was a success. And now we have done the actual installation of the server files. So the next step then would be the forwarding of required ports. This is a short section in the guide, and it is probably going to be a short section here as well. These instructions are only applicable if you actually have UFW active. In my case, it is not necessary, but I will still show you for demonstration purposes. What you should know is that you need to be on an account that actually has sudo privileges or is the root user. If you try to do this from the pzuser account, if we just try and copy this first command in here, and we enter the password for the user, as you can see, pzuser is not in the sudoers file, so we actually cannot run this command. So what do we need to do? Well, in my case, I will just do the step as root. So in my case, I will just type exit, which brings me back to the root. I will go ahead and run this first command, which opens one of the ports that the server uses. And then I will run the second one, and it will confirm that it's updated the rules. But then when I actually run sudo ufw reload, as you can see, it is not enabled in my case. But if you do have it active, then you do need to do this. So that's good to know. Basically, just follow these instructions in the case. So I'm going to go back into the pzuser account again. The next step is configuring and running the server. So we can go down here to the running the server section in the guide on the wiki. I'm going to start by just changing directory back into the server, pzserver directory that we created. And I'm actually going to go ahead and list out the contents here. So there is a step here which may actually be required for you in order to run the server successfully, which is not well explained in the guide. And in fact, it is not explained at all for the Linux section. In the Windows section, there is a mention of setting the XMS and XMX files to the values you want to use for server memory. This is not something that is mentioned for the Linux subsection, but I actually do need to do something similar here. If I skip over this part, I will run into an issue where the server will hang when I actually try to start it, when it's trying to load some assets, and it will just give me no output. And this is an issue that I did run into that I had to troubleshoot. So what we're going to do is we have just listed out the contents here. Notice this file, project-zomboid64.json. This is one of the configuration files for the server that we're going to run. So we want to go into Nano, and Nano is a text editor in the terminal. So we're going to run nano and then project zomboid 64.json. And this will drop us into this editor. So if we go down here to VM args, we will notice this xmx8g argument. This is telling the project Zomboid server to run with 8 gigs of RAM. The machine I am using does not have 8 gigs of RAM. This server, this Linux machine that I am on does not have 8 gigs of RAM, and so this will never work. This will never work. And so what I need to do is I need to edit this value to an amount of RAM that I actually have. In this case, I will use 3 gigs because I know that the machine I'm using here has more than that. So that's actually the only edit we need to make in this case, or at least the only edit that you have to make with the setup that I'm using here. And I am gonna guess that you need to do something similar, unless the machine you're using has enough RAM to run it on the default settings. After we've edited this, we're going to hit Control X, and we will be asked if we want to save the changes we've made. We're going to type Y, and then we will be asked what file name to use, and we're just going to press Enter. And this will update the JSON file here. So to verify, we're just going to run cat project zomboid 64.json, and cat will just list the contents of the file. So as you can see, vmargs right here, 3G. Fantastic. We are now ready to actually run the server. So we're going to run it from something called tmux, which is a tool which allows us to keep a terminal application running even after we close the actual terminal window that we're running it from. So we're going to go ahead and enter tmux, which will drop us into this other terminal. And what we're going to do then is we are going to run the start script for the server. So bash start server.sh, it's exactly what it says here as well. And something that's worth noting is that if you want a specific server name other than the default, you will run it with this server name flag. So then you will run something like this, and you will enter, the whatever server name you want right here. In this case, we're just gonna run it with the default. The first thing that's gonna happen is that it's gonna ask us for the administrator password. And this is something we set right here. You should use something that is appropriately strong for your use case. But for demonstration purposes, since I won't be using this particular server, I will just type in something silly like password. And this also is displayed in clear text as you're typing it in. So yeah, just be aware of that. And now it is going to output a bunch of logs from the application itself. And some of them might be warnings, some of them might be errors. Most of them are no cause for alarm, I would say. And this, by the way, is the place where it might hang in case you don't have enough memory. So usually it will take some time to load the assets, but it should get through this part. And then it will take some time to get everything started up, and then it will be running the server. All right, so now we can see that the server has started, and this is the verification that it is up and running and you are able to join it. As a bonus, I'm going to show you just sort of where some of the game variables and other in-game settings for the server are located. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and type in quit. This will actually shut the server down, so just be aware of that. And then we're going to exit to mux, because we don't need to be in there right now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and change directory into home, and this is the home for the current user. So you do that by typing in the tilde key, and then / Zomboid, which we can see has a few different directories in it. We want to go into the server directory, list the contents, and these are some of the configuration files. I'm going to show you what the server test.ini looks like. This has a few settings which are sort of, I guess, more general, like if you want PvP, you can toggle that to true or false, depending on what you want, and there are a bunch of other settings in here you can play around with. Once you're happy with your changes, you can Control X and either save or not save the changes. I'm just going to type in N and not save them. You can also go ahead and take a look at the server test _ sandbox of ours.lua, and this actually contains more specific settings about things like zombie population and all the other settings that you can set on a single player game. You just have to edit them in this file instead. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that, and you can look into what settings you want. I'm not going to cover that in detail here, but that's pretty much the content of this video. This was just kind of a brief overview on how to set up a Project Zombie server for build 42.13 unstable beta. The audio quality, I realize, might not be fantastic, and that's because I am recording this using my phone mic and no mic filter or anything like that. But if you stuck around this far, then thanks, and I hope it did help you in some way. And yeah, like the video if you liked it, and if you have other things you would like me to cover, drop a comment.